to another edition of Quick Trivia with Mike. It's the weekly game show right here on Channel 955, where we test your knowledge of facts. Sometimes a little bit more historic in nature, sometimes very contemporary. Hopefully, always a lot of fun. I am your host and the Quizmaster, Mike Brever. Let's sit back, relax, and have a little bit of fun for this next half hour, shall we? This show is airing on New Year's Eve for the very first time. My best wishes for a very safe and happy New Year for all of you. And I hope you get a chance to enjoy some of the festivities that are taking place over these next 2 days right here at East Castle Place. Some wonderful meals and some nice celebrations. Something to ring in the new year. I also hope you all had a wonderful Christmas this past year. As I said last week, I hope you all had an opportunity to spend it with family and friends that you love. That's what the holidays are all about, and I hope you had an opportunity to do so. You know by now how the game is played. I pose several questions to you, and I challenge you to come up with the answers. But we have a brand new tradition here at Quick Trivia. We do the birthdays of the week. This week it's a relatively short list. We've only got one. Mickey Pollard. Mickey Pollard on January 2nd. It is her big day. If you happen to pass Mickey in the hall, or maybe you see her in the dining room or at one of the events in Lindsay Hall, wish her a very, very happy birthday on behalf of all of us. Happy birthday, Mickey! We always begin by going through the 3 questions from last week. Let's begin, shall we? You know, last week was our special Christmas edition, and we had a lot of trivia questions that were specific to the holidays. Let's get right into it, shall we? The very first question, we talked about the initial broadcast on December 24th, 1951, of an opera that was written by Giancarlo Menotti, specifically for television. On December 24th, 1951, NBC aired the opera live to its 35 affiliates across the country, and over 5 million people watched it. At the time, it was the largest audience ever to see a televised opera. You know, it tells the story of the manger scene and the 3 wise men going there to present their gifts for baby Jesus. A wonderful story and a wonderful television opera. If you've never had a chance to see it, I'll bet you can find it on YouTube, or it's going to be in various DVDs or Blu-rays available. You really should get a copy. It is wonderful. I pointed out to you, however, that there was a little known bit of trivia related to that first airing on Christmas Eve 1951. There was a little known person working as the floor manager for this show. And I told you that person would go on to have approximately a 50-year history in television. And I asked you, who was this little known floor manager at the first ever broadcast of Amal and the Night Visitors? The answer? The incomparable Fred Rogers, later to be known as Mr. Rogers. Born March 20th, 1928, passed away on February 27th, 2003. Really he was best known for the run of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood from 1968 to 2001. He was born near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, earned a bachelor's degree in music from Rollins College, and again he began his television career at NBC in New York. He became really well known as a television host, author, producer. He also was a Presbyterian minister. And of course, the ever popular Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood that ran from 68 to 2001. It influenced the upbringing of children for 33 years. Just a remarkable testament to the man, to his vision, his empathy, and the story he was trying to bring about children and their importance and their sense of self-worth, and how we all need to strive to reinforce that constantly. People all over America loved Mr. Rogers, people of all ages. He tragically passed away from stomach cancer on February 27th, 2003, at the age of 74. He was inducted into the Television Hall of Fame in '99. In 2002, he won the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And in '97, he was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Emmy. So there you have it. The little-known stage manager at the first broadcast of Amal and the Night Visitors was Fred Rogers, later known as Mr. Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. We next talked about a story that has been going on for 3 weeks now here at Quick Trivia. We've had some trivia involving the movie White Christmas, Danny Kaye, Bing Crosby, Rosemary Clooney, Vera Ellen. We also talked about the fact that there was at least the use of a character in White Christmas. If you remember the storyline, the two Haynes sisters are entertaining Bob and Bing in a nightclub in Florida, and they bring out a photo of their brother, an old war buddy of Bing and Danny Kaye from the Army. Turns out the picture supposedly was of Benny Haynes, the freckle-faced boy. In reality, the picture was of, let me see if I can get it here, Carl Switzer, who played Alfalfa in the Our Gang or Little Rascals shorts that appeared in the 1930s. So that picture actually was of Alfalfa from the Little Rascals. Now, I pointed out to you that this gentleman, Carl Switzer, had a cameo in another wonderful holiday classic. And I asked you, what was that holiday classic and what role did he play? The answer, the movie was It's a Wonderful Life. That famous Donna Reed and Jimmy Stewart movie that premiered on December 20th, 1946. Really wasn't a very popular movie until 1974, when the copyright expired, and it started to be shown on television stations virtually round the clock during the holidays. It really took on a life of its own with a brand new audience, and now it's one of the most beloved holiday movies of all time. I asked you, however, what role did Carl Switzer play? Well, Carl Switzer played the role of Freddie Othello. I know, you're saying now, who is Freddie Othello? Well, Freddie Othello is none other than the gentleman that George Bailey, played by Jimmy Stewart, steals Mary away from, Mary, played by Donna Reed, while they are dancing on the dance floor at the high school. If you remember, Mary and Carl Switzer, who actually plays a gentleman named Freddie Othello. So Mary and Freddie are dancing. Jimmy Stewart comes up, George Bailey, and he asks Mary to dance, and the rest is history. You might also remember Freddie Othello really does one of the most famous punchlines in the movie. He is a little bit taken aback by the fact that George Bailey has come up and stolen the girl that he was dancing with, and he retaliates by pushing the button that opens the floor of the gymnasium and reveals the swimming pool underneath. You remember that George and Mary are dancing and they almost fall in, but they don't fall in, but then ultimately they do fall in. Everybody else jumps in, they have a wonderful time. it really creates the first moment in the movie and the immediate follow-up, the walk home, where George and Mary realize that, you know, hey, there's something really here between the two of them. And as you know, later in life they go on and get married, and the rest is history. But that's it. Carl Switzer played Freddie Othello, who opens the dance floor and sends everybody into the swimming pool. Our third question last week, we talked about the island nation Kiribati. Kiribati in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It is an island approximately 150 degrees west meridian. It actually has a population of about 119,000 on a series of islets that form the country. I pointed out to you that in Kiribati, December 31st, 1994 never existed. And I challenged you to explain to me why that happens. Well, the answer actually is pretty simple. Kiribati, as an island nation of only 119,000 people, happens to coincidentally be located immediately on the international dateline. Now, I mean, consider an island nation of 119,000 people. That's only about 20% the population of the city of Milwaukee. Imagine if everybody south of Wisconsin Avenue recognized today as Saturday, January 1st, and everybody north of Wisconsin Avenue recognized today as Friday, December 31st. Could be rather confusing. So the island nation decided to unify the country on the latter date, and they arbitrarily moved the international date line in their island nation so that it no longer bisected any land. All of the land was on the later date. December 31st, 1994 was skipped, and everybody became January 1st, 1995. That is the reason. It was to unify this very small, isolated country under one unified date. And that's why December 31st, 1994 never existed on half of the island nation of Kiribati. There you have it, everybody. Those are the three answers to last week's questions. We're going to take a brief intermission now, and we're going to come back with three wonderful questions for the next half of the program. Something for you to try to sink your teeth into over the next week. Hurry back, everybody. Maybe get a cup of coffee, a donut, get yourself a little brain food. I can assure you, these are really fun questions, and they're going to challenge you. I'll be waiting right here.
Imagine how ballsy it is. You're a young director, you've got John Travolta, and you're showing him how to dance. You're teaching him how to dance.
I didn't have to teach John Travolta how to dance.
Could you dance like that? No.
Oh, yeah, no, I wanted him to dance a particular way. It was a certain kind of way. I'll do it. You don't need to do it.
What?
I'm not going to let you pick on Well, here's the thing. Let me set it up.
Okay, you set it up.
Because it's a twist. Now, twists can be kind of boring. So part of the thing about it is I wanted Vincent and Mia, i.e. Uma Thurman, to have two different characters when they twist. All right? When Vince twists, I wanted him to be kind of rich. Like that. It's good. But when Mia twists, the image that I had in my mind was the Zsa Zsa Gabor cat from the Aristocats. And there's that one little scene where the Aristocats dance. And she kind of like...
The Graham Norton Show. All new. Saturday at 11.
only on BBC America.
Welcome back to the second half of our show. I've already given you the answers to the 3 questions from last week. Let's move on to your challenge for this week, shall we? I'm going to begin the second half of our program with the ever-popular What Am I? I've got a picture here that I'm holding up for you. It has a man with some very large artificial ears. What is this, and what is this man doing? What in the world is this man doing with enlarged Mickey Mouse ears? What is this, and what functional purpose does it serve? That, my friends, is question number 1. Kind of a brain teaser there. I'm going to have a lot of fun revealing that answer to you next week. Question number 2. We're going to take a look at a very, very famous entertainer. Man by the name of Borgia Rosenbaum. Born January 3rd, 1909, passed away on December 23rd, 2000. Who in the world is Borgia Rosenbaum? Well, he's actually one of the most famous entertainers of our time, better known as Victor Borge. Victor Borge, Danish-American comedian, conductor, and pianist who achieved great popularity in radio and television in the United States and Europe. His blend of music and comedy earned him the nicknames the Clown Prince of Denmark and the Unmelancholy Dane and the Great Dane. All 3 were nicknames that were commonly used for him. Part of what made Victor Borge as popular as he was his style. One of his most famous routines was, of course, phonetic punctuation, in which he would read a passage from a book and add exaggerated sounds for all of the punctuation marks, such as periods, commas, and exclamation marks. I can't even do it, so I won't give you an example of what it might be. Maybe that's it. A period. Victor Borge would end a sentence with a period. It was called inflationary language. He added one to every other number or homophone or number of words he spoke. This was the second one, inflationary language. For example, once upon a time would become twice upon a time. Wonderful would become tutorful. Forehead becomes five-head. Anyone for tennis becomes any 2 for 5. I can't even say it. Anyone for tennis becomes any 2 5 11ers. As you can see, he created his own language, which was very, very popular. His musical sidekick in the 1960s, Leonid Hambro, was also a well-known concert pianist. You know, Victor Borge, in my time, really appeared a lot on the Ed Sullivan Show. He never really finished a song. He'd break off into comedy routine, and he'd never quite get there. But he was a gifted musician and also conductor. He loved making fun of modern theater. Many times beginning a performance by asking if there were any children in the audience. There always were, of course. He would sternly order them out, then say, "We do have some children in here. That means I can't do the second half of the show in the nude. I'll wear the tie, the long one, the very long one." Yeah, just really, really fun routines that got his audience really going. My question to you, involving Victor Borge, is one of his most famous comments. What? He actually said something. My question to you, though, is what is the shortest distance between 2 people? Victor Borge's very famous comment. What is the shortest distance between 2 people? Identify that what. That is today's second question. What is the shortest distance between 2 people? Victor Borge's famous line. My third question for you today. We're going to go on a little bit of an international intrigue. We're going to take a look at the Eiffel Tower, the very famous French landmark located in, of course, the great city of Paris. I've never had the opportunity. I have been to Europe. I've been to Ireland and England and Scotland. I've been to Northern Ireland. Never been to Wales, but I have been to every other part of the British Isles. However, I've never been to the mainland. I've been to the British Isles, but never the mainland. I hope my wife Mary Beth and I get a chance to get there someday. However, the Eiffel Tower, or as the French called it, La Tour Eiffel, it's one of the world's most recognizable landmarks. The tower was designed as the centerpiece of the 1889 World's Fair in Paris and was meant to commemorate the centennial of the French Revolution and show off France's modern mechanical prowess on a world stage. Of course, it was mission accomplished. It has stood now for almost 40 years, 130 years, certainly, as a landmark that identifies Paris. When you think of Paris, you know, what do you think of? You probably think of the Eiffel Tower or the Arc de Triomphe. You know, those two things really bring Paris to mind. Since opening in 1889, the tower has welcomed over 300 million people and still welcomes almost 7 million visitors a year. There are still secrets, some of which I'm going to reveal to you today about the Eiffel Tower. There's a secret apartment at the top. Did you know that? Gustave Eiffel designed his namesake tower. He put a private apartment for himself where he hosted famous guests like Thomas Edison and other notable dignitaries. That apartment is actually now open to the public for tour. Gustave Eiffel didn't actually design the tower. His company did. Two people who worked for his company, Maurice Hechlin and Émile Noyer, really drew the original design. And then two engineers teamed up with those two engineers teamed up with the local architect, Stephen Sauvastrier, for the plans and the movement and everything took off from there. Eiffel gets credit for it, however, because it was his brainchild and his employees were the ones who created it. Eiffel Tower was supposed to be torn down after 20 years. It was only meant to show off, you know, the real prowess in the industrial age of France. But Eiffel cleverly put a radio antenna and a wireless transmitter in the tower, and the government eventually decided it was too useful to diminish. Hitler ordered the Eiffel Tower destroyed during World War II, but it was never followed through on. I'm not really certain why. The information I have at my disposal does not explain it. But Hitler ordered it destroyed, and it was not followed through on. French resistance fighters actually got some of their revenge on German troops at that time, German occupying troops. They cut the elevator cables. So to hang the Nazi flag on top of the Eiffel Tower, German soldiers had to climb steps all the way up. There was no way to take an easy way up. There's a post office in the Eiffel Tower, the first floor of the tower, next to the gift shops. The Eiffel Tower also doubled as a scientific laboratory. The Eiffel Tower actually moves. It sways during a storm, much like our high-rise buildings today. There's a military bunker underneath the Eiffel Tower. Did you know that? I didn't know that. But there is a military bunker under the Eiffel Tower. It's a secret military bunker that potentially connects the École Militaire via a long tunnel to the Eiffel Tower. The bunker has now been turned into a small museum, and tour groups can explore the space. There's a champagne bar at the top. If you're brave enough to reach the top of the tower, reward yourself with a glass of champagne. Not more than one, though. It's a long way down, so you don't want to do that. I will tell you, however, and today's question, there is, in fact, a cousin of sorts of the Eiffel Tower right here in the United States. What is that edifice that was constructed that is somewhat of a cousin of the Eiffel Tower? That, my friends, is question number 3. Good luck finding those answers. As always, I'd like to thank the president of ECTV, Tyler Gudix, our executive producer, Laura Wengler, my producer and cameraman, Scott McFerrin, and my artistic director, as always, the incomparable Cooper Ledvina. I've said it once, I've said it virtually at every show now. If there's anything you like about this program, Scott and Cooper's fingerprints are all over it. And we're constantly looking for ways to update and modernize. So don't be surprised if we come up with some new ideas in the new year. Keep tuned. Maybe we'll be doing the show live. Maybe you could be in the audience as we go through this. Who knows? That, however, is our show for this week. As always, I'd also like to thank you for tuning in and spending this last half hour with me. I had a great time. I hope you did too. Once again, I wish you all a very happy New Year's Eve celebration today and a very wonderful and blessed new year. I hope all of your dreams come true. I am, as always, the Quizmaster Mike Brever. I look forward to seeing you next week. If you'd like to play along and get your answers to me for the show, 963-8425, leave an answer, or leave a leave your answers on my answering machine. mbrever at eastcastleplace.com. You can get your answers to me by email. You could also write your answers on a sheet of paper, slide them under my door, or open the door, put them on my conference table, or ask the concierge to put them in my mailbox behind the front desk. There you have it, folks. Once again, thanks for tuning in. I hope you had a great time. I'll see you next week.